So this happened about 2 years ago, but I'm finally ready to share this wild story. I, 28M, was with Ashley, 26F, for 3 years. We met in college and stayed together after graduation. Everyone said we were the perfect couple, we had the same friend group, liked the same movies, even adopted a dog together, a golden retriever named Charlie who's currently sleeping on my feet as I type this. Ashley was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, outgoing, ambitious. She worked in marketing at some trendy startup downtown, and I was doing software development for a mid-size company. We talked about marriage, kids, the whole 9 yards. I was literally ring shopping, guys. Had a whole Pinterest board and everything, don't judge me. We had this perfect little routine. Sunday morning pancakes at this diner near our apartment, weekly date nights where we try new restaurants, weekend hiking trips with Charlie. Ashley would post these adorable couple photos on Instagram that got hundreds of likes. Her friends were always commenting about how goals we were. I ate that shit up. Our apartment was like something out of a home design magazine. Ashley had this incredible eye for decorating. She'd spend hours rearranging furniture and picking out throw pillows. We had matching coffee mugs, coordinated our outfits for events, and she even convinced me to do couples yoga classes on Thursday nights. I thought I was living the dream. I remember planning this elaborate surprise for our 2-year anniversary. I recreated our first date down to the smallest detail, same restaurant, same table, even wore the same cologne. I had been saving up for months to buy her this vintage Tiffany bracelet she'd been eyeing. When I gave it to her, she cried actual tears and told me I was the most thoughtful person in the world. That night felt like a scene from a romantic movie. Looking back, there were probably red flags I ignored. She was always on her phone, started going out more with work friends, became distant during sex. But I trusted her completely. Like, stupidly completely. When she'd get texts at dinner and immediately grab her phone, I just figured it was work stuff. When she started coming home later and later from these client dinners, I'd just heat up her leftovers and ask about her day. I was so goddamn naive. The way I found out was so cliché it hurts. It was a Friday night in March, and Ashley said she was having a girls' night with her coworkers. Nothing unusual there. I decided to order pizza and binge-watch The Office for the millionth time. Around 11 p.m., I was scrolling Instagram when I saw a story from Marcus, my supposed best friend since high school, at some upscale bar downtown. Here's where it gets fun. In the background of his story, clear as day, was Ashley. Laughing, touching his arm, looking at him the way she used to look at me. My heart literally stopped for a second. I screenshotted it immediately, my hands shaking like crazy. Then I started going through more stories from people we knew. Found 3 more posts from that same bar, same night. Ashley and Marcus were in 2 of them, looking very much not like people who accidentally ran into each other. I spent the entire night awake, going through social media like a detective. Found comments on old posts that suddenly made sense, likes and reactions that painted a clear picture. They'd been doing this for months. The worst part was realizing how blind I'd been. I went back through Ashley's Instagram posts from the past 6 months, and Marcus was liking everything within minutes of her posting. Not just casual likes either, he was always the first to react, always with the heart eyes emoji or fire emojis. There were inside jokes in the comments that I didn't understand, references to conversations I wasn't part of. I found a photo from Ashley's work retreat 2 months earlier where Marcus had commented, "Wish I was there," and she'd replied, "Next time babe." Babe. How the fuck did I miss that? I remembered her showing me that exact photo, talking about how boring the retreat was, how she missed me. Meanwhile, she was flirting with my best friend in the comments. I dug deeper, checking her tagged photos, stories she was mentioned in by mutual friends. There was a pattern going back at least 4 months. They'd been at the same places, same times, way too often for it to be coincidental. Bar crawls I wasn't invited to, weekend brunches during my work trips, even a concert I specifically remember Ashley saying she couldn't go to because she had a family thing. By 6 a.m., I had a timeline of their entire affair mapped out in my head. The pizza box sat cold and untouched on my coffee table. Charlie kept bringing me his tennis ball, trying to get me to play, but I couldn't move from the couch. I felt like I was drowning, like the room was spinning. 3 years of my life, and it was all a lie. The next morning, Ashley came home around 10 a.m. looking guilty as hell. Hair messy, makeup smudged, wearing the same dress from the night before. She gave me some story about crashing at her coworker Sarah's place because she had too much to drink. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I did what any rational person would do, I went full FBI mode. I checked our shared phone plan and saw dozens of texts and calls between her and Marcus, especially late at night. I looked through our credit card statements, we had a joint account for shared expenses, and found charges at restaurants and hotels I'd never been to, always on days when she said she was working late or out with girlfriends. The worst part? I called Marcus to hang out that weekend, just to see what he'd say. This mother-of-asterisk-ker looked me straight in the eye and helped me pick out engagement rings online. We spent 2 hours at the mall, and he was giving me advice on what Ashley would like. Meanwhile, he was literally sleeping with her. That's when I realized this wasn't just cheating, this was a complete betrayal by the two people I trusted most in the world. The details I discovered made everything so much worse. The hotel charges weren't just random, they were at the Marriott downtown, the same place Ashley and I had our first weekend getaway. They'd been using our special place. I found restaurant charges from Antonio's, the Italian place where Marcus and I used to go for boys' nights when we were single. He'd been taking my girlfriend to our spot. But the phone records were what really destroyed me. Late night calls that went on for hours, starting right around the time Ashley would tell me she was too tired to talk and needed to go to sleep early. Text message after text message at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., times when she was lying right next to me pretending to be asleep. I'd wake up to use the bathroom and see her phone face down on the nightstand, probably still warm from texting him. When I confronted Marcus that weekend, the level of deception was mind-blowing. He not only helped me pick out rings, but he actively steered me toward the most expensive ones. Ash deserves the best, he kept saying. Ash. He had a fucking nickname for her. When I asked him what he thought about different diamond cuts, he had opinions that were way too detailed for someone who'd supposedly never thought about Ashley romantically. The most fucked up part was how natural he was at lying. He asked me detailed questions about my relationship, pretending to be the supportive best friend. How do you know when you found the one, he asked, while probably thinking about all the ways he was better for her than I was. He even took photos of the rings I was considering, claiming he wanted to help me remember which ones I liked. I bet he showed them to Ashley later, laughing about what a sucker I was. That night, I went through every memory I had of the three of us together, looking for signs I'd missed. Birthday parties where they'd been standing too close. Group dinners where they'd shared inside jokes. Ashley's housewarming party where I'd found them on the balcony having an intense conversation that stopped the moment I walked outside. All of it suddenly made perfect, horrible sense. I could have just confronted them or broken up with Madison quietly. But guys, I was hurt. Like, soul-crushing, can't-eat-for-days hurt. And I wanted them to feel even a fraction of what they put me through. So I came up with what I thought was a genius plan. See, Ashley was super image conscious. Her Instagram was perfectly curated, she cared deeply about what people thought, and her career in marketing meant her reputation was everything. Marcus was the same way, he worked in sales and was always networking, trying to impress people. My plan was to expose them publicly in the most humiliating way possible. I created fake social media accounts and dating profiles. I started flirting with Ashley online, pretending to be a wealthy entrepreneur interested in someone exactly like her. I did the same with Marcus, posing as a successful businesswoman. The idea was to get them to cheat on each other, while still cheating on me, and then expose everything at once. I spent weeks building these fake personas. Created entire backstories, fake business websites, even hired actors on Fiverr to make phone calls pretending to be business associates. I was obsessed with making it perfect. The plan was working better than I expected. Entrepreneur Ryan, yeah, I used a random name this time, had Ashley completely hooked. She was texting him constantly, sending photos, even talking about meeting up. She told me she had to work late more and more often, which I now knew meant she was either with Marcus or planning to meet my fake persona. Similarly, businesswoman Jessica had Marcus eating out of her palm. He was bragging to his friends about this amazing woman he met online who might invest in his company. I set up the meeting for the same night, same place, a trendy rooftop bar downtown. I arranged for both Ashley and Marcus to be there at the same time, thinking they'd see each other and realize they'd both been catfished by the same person, me. But here's where my brilliant plan started falling apart. Ashley's excitement about meeting Ryan was both satisfying and nauseating to watch. She'd spent hours getting ready, trying on different outfits, asking me which dress made her look more successful and approachable. The irony was killing me. She was asking her boyfriend for advice on how to look good for another man, not knowing that other man was me orchestrating her humiliation. She kept showing me Ryan's messages, gushing about how deep and understanding he was. He really gets my career ambitions, she'd say, while I nodded and smiled like the supportive boyfriend. Meanwhile, I knew exactly what to say to her as Ryan because I'd been listening to her career frustrations for 3 years. Marcus was even worse. He'd call me up to talk about Jessica, asking for advice on how to impress a sophisticated older woman. I had to listen to him describe his sexual fantasies about my fake persona while pretending to be his wingman. He'd show me her messages and ask me to help him craft responses. The level of deception required was exhausting. The night before the big meeting, I barely slept. I'd arranged for everything to happen at 8 p.m. at Sky Lounge, this trendy place with floor-to-ceiling windows and overpriced cocktails. I'd made reservations for both Ryan and Jessica at tables that would give them perfect views of each other. I pictured Ashley and Marcus spotting each other, the confusion, the realization, the public embarrassment. I spent the day beforehand setting up cameras. I had a friend who worked in video production, and I'd convinced him to help me film a documentary about modern dating without telling him the real purpose. We had 3 discrete cameras positioned around the bar, all focused on the area where I expected the drama to unfold. The anticipation was killing me. I kept imagining different scenarios. Would they figure it out immediately? Would they accuse each other of being the catfish? Would they realize someone was manipulating them both? I had screenshots ready to post on social media, a whole slideshow prepared showing their affair alongside evidence of the catfishing. I was going to destroy them both in the most public way possible. But as the day went on, I started feeling weird about it. Not guilty exactly, but something was off. Charlie kept looking at me like he knew something was wrong. I hadn't eaten anything all day, hadn't showered, hadn't even changed clothes. I was running on pure vindictive energy, and it was starting to feel unsustainable. The night of the big reveal, I got to the bar early to watch everything unfold. I was sitting in a corner booth, practically vibrating with anticipation. Ashley showed up first, looking stunning and clearly nervous about meeting entrepreneur Ryan. Marcus arrived about 10 minutes later, also dressed to impress for his meeting with businesswoman Jessica. They saw each other immediately. And instead of the confusion and realization I expected, they just looked annoyed. They walked over to each other, had a quick conversation, and I could see them putting the pieces together that they'd both been catfished. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of leaving or freaking out, they started laughing. They sat down together and ordered drinks, apparently bonding over being victims of the same elaborate prank. I was sitting there watching my revenge plan turn into them having a cute date, when someone slid into the booth across from me. "Rough night?" she asked. I looked up and saw the most beautiful woman I'd ever laid eyes on. Auburn hair, green eyes, wearing a simple black dress that somehow looked more elegant than Ashley's designer outfit. She had a kind smile and was looking at me with genuine concern. "You could say that," I replied, not sure why I was talking to a stranger about this. "I'm Sophie," she said. "I work here, well, I manage this place. I've been watching you sit here for an hour looking like you're about to murder someone or cry. Possibly both." What I didn't expect was how quickly Sophie cut through my bullshit. I tried to play it off like I was just having a bad day, but she had this way of looking at me that made lying impossible. Within 10 minutes, I was telling her everything: the cheating, the fake profiles, the elaborate revenge plot that was currently imploding 20 feet away from us. "So let me get this straight," she said, stirring her drink with a tiny spoon. "You catfished your cheating girlfriend and your backstabbing best friend, brought them to the same bar to humiliate them, and now they're bonding over being catfished by the same person?" She paused, watching Ashley and Marcus clink glasses. "That's either the most elaborate self-sabotage I've ever seen or the worst revenge plot in history." I expected her to think I was crazy, but instead she seemed impressed. "The fake business websites were a nice touch," she said. "I looked up Ryan Mitchell while you were talking. Very thorough LinkedIn profile." Sophie had this way of making me feel like I wasn't completely insane, even though I obviously was. She asked detailed questions about my fake personas, genuinely curious about the psychology behind it all. "You put more effort into being fake Ryan than most people put into their actual careers," she observed. As we talked, I kept glancing over at Ashley and Marcus. They were deep in conversation, occasionally pointing at their phones, probably comparing the messages they'd received from Ryan and Jessica. At one point, Marcus threw his head back laughing at something Ashley said, and instead of the rage I expected to feel, I just felt empty. Like I was watching strangers. "They look happy," Sophie said, following my gaze. "Not the reaction you were hoping for." "Not even close," I admitted. "I wanted them to hate each other. I wanted everyone in this bar to know what they'd done. I wanted them to feel as humiliated as I felt." Sophie nodded thoughtfully. "And how do you feel now?" That's when it hit me, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no vindication. Just exhaustion and this weird sense of detachment, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. 3 months of planning, weeks of elaborate deception, and all I'd accomplished was proving that Ashley and Marcus were better suited for each other than either of them had been with me. Sophie and I talked for 3 hours that night. She was brilliant, funny, and had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. When I told her the whole story, leaving out some of the more psychotic details of my revenge plan, she didn't judge me. She just listened. "Sounds like you dodged a bullet," she said. "Both of them, actually." She was right. Watching Ashley and Marcus together that night, I realized I didn't actually want either of them back. I wanted to hurt them because my ego was bruised, not because my heart was broken. Sophie and I have been together for a year and a half now. She's everything Ashley pretended to be: genuine, loyal, supportive. We're moving in together next month, and Charlie absolutely adores her, which is the ultimate test, let's be real. As for Ashley and Marcus, they actually ended up together and seem happy. Ashley quit her job and moved across the country with him. I heard through mutual friends that they're engaged now. And you know what? I'm genuinely happy for them. Not because I'm some enlightened person who's above petty revenge, but because I realize now that they did me the biggest favor of my life. If Ashley hadn't cheated, I never would have been at that bar that night. I never would have met Sophie. The months after that night were a complete transformation for me. Sophie helped me see how toxic my relationship with Ashley had actually been. The constant need for Instagram validation, the way Ashley would criticize my clothes or my friends, how she'd make me feel guilty for spending time on my hobbies. I'd thought that was normal relationship stuff, but Sophie showed me what it felt like to be with someone who actually liked me for who I was. We took things slow, which was exactly what I needed. Sophie had been through her own relationship trauma, an ex who cheated on her with her sister, yeah, her actual sister. She understood the paranoia, the way your brain starts looking for betrayal in every innocent interaction. We went to couples therapy together after only 6 months of dating, not because we had problems but because we wanted to build something healthy from the ground up. The best part about Sophie is how real she is. She doesn't perform happiness for social media, half the time she forgets to post anything at all. She wears sweatpants to the grocery store and doesn't care if her hair is messy. She'd rather stay in and cook dinner together than go to some trendy restaurant just to be seen there. With Ashley, everything felt like a performance. With Sophie, everything feels like home. Charlie was the real matchmaker, though. Sophie started coming over just to walk him, even when I wasn't around. She'd send me pictures of them at the dog park, and Charlie would come home exhausted and happy. One day I came home from work to find Sophie teaching Charlie to high-five, both of them covered in treats and laughing. That's when I knew she was the one. As for my elaborate revenge scheme, I kept all the fake websites and social media accounts for a while, partly as evidence of my temporary insanity and partly because I was oddly proud of how convincing they were. Sophie convinced me to delete everything eventually, but not before helping me turn some of the web design skills into a legitimate side business. Turns out creating fake companies is excellent practice for helping real companies build their online presence. The weirdest part is that I occasionally get messages from Ashley on my birthday or holidays. She seems genuinely happy, posts pictures of her and Marcus hiking and traveling. There's something different about her energy in the photos, more relaxed, less performative. Maybe Marcus brings out a side of her that I never could. Maybe they're actually perfect for each other. Either way, I'm grateful it all worked out the way it did. Sometimes the best revenge is just living your best life. Sounds cheesy, but it's true. Oh, and I deleted all those fake social media accounts. That shit was exhausting and honestly kind of creepy in retrospect. If you're reading this and thinking about elaborate revenge plots against your ex, maybe just go to therapy instead. Or adopt a dog. Dogs are great.